Three-time NBA champion, Defensive Player of the Year, and three-time NBA All-Star Draymond Green. Welcome to Israel. How are you?
Thank you. I am amazing.
You know, you surprised everyone surfacing here all of a sudden. Can you tell us the purpose of your visit?
I was really just taking a vacation. I went to Mykonos and I went to Santorini, and then this was the next stop on the vacation. I've always heard such great things. And playing with Omri Caspi, he talked all year like, you got to come to Israel, you got to come to Israel. Unfortunately, he's not here. He's back in the States right now, but, you know, he connected me with a lot of his people, and, you know, friends of mine knew some folks over here, and, you know, it's been an amazing time.
Glad to hear.
What would you remember most from Israel? Is it how you showed how little you are with a gun in your hand?
I think I was definitely pretty good with the gun. You know, at the base, that was a lot of fun. You know, great hospitality, just to kind of see a little bit of their world for the hour and a half that I was there was amazing. So that was an incredible experience. Going to the wall was an incredible experience. The Masada was amazing, and I think the one that stood out the most to me was floating in the Dead Sea. You know, you always hear all these things about how great it is, and you just float, and it's like, I'm not just going to float in this water, and literally you go in the water and just fall backwards and you're floating. It was one of the most incredible things I've ever done.
How do you explain the fact that you met the President of Israel before you met the President of the United States?
Well, you know, he welcomed me with open arms as soon as I landed on the plane. You know, I landed here in Tel Aviv. I went straight there and met the president, which was amazing. You know, like I said, they were so welcoming of me, and you know, I am appreciative of the opportunity, you know, to have met the president.
But can you explain why do you prefer meeting the president of another country and not your own country?
Well, I think just, you know, our views and the things that's going on in our country right now calls for different measures. And, you know, as public figures with the platform that we have, you know, you just stand up for what you believe in and try to create change. You know, you do everything that you've done before like everything's normal, you will never get change. You know, so you have to change some things up, you know, in order to try to get the changes that you want for our country. And, you know, like I said, with us being, having the platform that we have, it's important that we use that, but for things that you believe in. And so, obviously, you know, with all the things that's gone on in America over the past couple of years, you know, there's desperate need for change, and we just try to be out in front of that.
Let's talk a little bit about basketball. You know, one of the biggest moves, maybe in all of the off seasons, is LeBron James joining the Lakers.
Can LeBron handle the West?
I mean, you know, LeBron's one of the greatest players ever. I think he can kind of handle a lot, if anything. But, you know, we've won the West now, 4 straight years. And, you know, LeBron going to the Lakers is great. That's amazing. But we don't plan on not winning now.
What are your impressions about this new team building up in the Lakers, adding Stevenson, JaVale McGee, Rondo, and potentially Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, they've definitely added some good pieces. Obviously, just like any other team that's adding pieces, you got to put it all together. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see how they put it together. I think, you know, they already have some good young talent in Kuzma and Caldwell Pope and Josh Hart and Lonzo Ball and those guys. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how everything goes together. But, you know, I'm always rooting for the Lakers. You know,
always rooting for the Lakers.
Always. Luke Walton is a brother of mine. You know, he helped me. Luke was coaching me my first year of becoming an all-star. Like, you know, I'll always wish Luke well and want Luke to do well. So I'll always be rooting for him. As long as he's the coach there, I'll be rooting for the Lakers, except when they play us.
And do you think they can challenge you a little bit, maybe?
I don't think anyone can challenge us, and that'll always be my mindset. You know, I'm never going to go into a season or into a game saying, oh, like, you know, these guys can challenge us. You have, you know, one thing Coach Kerr always speaks of is appropriate fear. If we have the appropriate fear, knowing that if we're not on top of our game, that we can be beat. But if we're on top of our game, I think we're unbeatable. And I always approach games and approach seasons with the mindset that we will be on top of our game.
There was a rumor that LeBron tried to recruit Kevin Durant, send him messages. Did you have to convince him to stay?
No, we didn't talk about that at all. We won 2 championships in 2 years. I think that's convincing enough in itself.
Or 3 and 4. But still, LeBron moving to the Western Conference kind of changes the league after 15 season in the Eastern Conference. What are the differences right now after this big move between West and East? And do you think the league should change the playoffs format and advance the best 16 teams in terms of their record, regardless of the conference they're coming from?
Well, I think the big change is we all are 100% sure that LeBron's not coming out of the East this year. I think as it's been, the last 8 or 9 years or something like that, we're 100% sure of that now. There was some doubt this year that they wouldn't make it out the East, and he still came out. Well, we know for sure that he won't this year. But, I think obviously LeBron moving to the Lakers, leaving the Eastern Conference, going to the Western Conference, it definitely makes the Western Conference tougher. And it makes the Eastern Conference weaker. And although there are still some good teams in the Eastern Conference, you remove a player like that from the conference, and the conference is going to get a little weaker. I think there's positives. Just like anything else, there's positive and negatives. You take the top 16 teams, and travel gets a little crazy. In the playoffs, some of those flights can get long. I mean, we see it sometimes. We're having to go to San Antonio or New Orleans or Houston. Like, those flights can get long. So now you're talking about a first-round matchup could possibly be us against Miami. That's a 6.5-hour flight. And so, that can be the challenge. In saying that, I think we all want the best basketball we can possibly play in, games we can possibly play in. As fans, I'm sure everyone wants the best basketball they can possibly see. That being said, 1 through 16 probably would be the best format for that.
Let's talk about the second biggest move in this offseason regarding the Golden State Warriors, obviously. DeMarcus Cousins joining the team. It's just the rich getting richer again, Draymond?
Well, I think obviously DeMarcus joining, forces with us is incredible. An amazing talent. When you look at the way free agency happened, a lot of people want to blame us and say, oh, man, how did they get DeMarcus? But other teams played a huge part in that. And I think no one wants to admit that side of it, that, other teams had a chance to sign him as well, and they didn't. And so, obviously, we took advantage of the situation, and we're ecstatic to have him. It adds a completely different dynamic to our team, which I look forward to working with and trying to work that out. It's not just like you don't just add someone like DeMarcus and everything's just status quo. You got to change some things around. You got to make some things work, and I'm looking forward to that because it adds another challenge. We're coming off back-to-back championships, and sometimes things can get a little tedious. Now, what that adds is something to work for the entire year to make that work. How do you move those pieces and make that work? So I'm very excited for the challenge.
You're known as a recruiter. What part did you have in recruiting DeMarcus Cousins to come?
We talked.
From Santorini?
Yeah, I was in Santorini actually at dinner first
What
time.
did you tell him?
I didn't tell him much. I just, obviously talked to him about, how we would love to have him there, what's important to me as a player, obviously some of the things about the organization and, the way we operate. And that we're excited to have him if he want to be on board.
You've been modest, Draymond. We read Mark J. Spears' article saying that Cousins called both you and Steph Curry and also Kevin Durant, and you are one of the ones that persuaded him. You did the same with Kevin Durant. What's your secret as a recruiter? Tell us.
I don't really have a secret. There's no secret. It's just honestly just to be real, be honest. I think so many times, people in our sport, people lie. They tell guys what they want to hear. I don't really tell guys what they want to hear. I think there's a respect in telling somebody the truth and telling them how things would really be, as opposed to blowing smoke. And I think guys respect that.
How do you think it's going to work on the court, the combination with him? He needs the ball in his hand more than JaVale McGee, for example.
I think, that was the same question everybody had when Kevin Durant came. You find, when one thing about basketball, about our team, we move the ball. But DeMarcus does add a dynamic that we have not had. He's a guy who we can throw the ball to in the post. Kevin, we can do it with. And he can go get a bucket at any time. and that adds a completely different dynamic. And so, it's definitely not just the easiest thing to do. But I think, with the way we play, it's something that we'll definitely figure out. And one thing about this game is the guys who should get shots get shots. He's a guy that should get shots. He's going to get shots.
And you don't care sacrificing your shots, right?
No, I sacrificed shots before. I've been an all-star the last 2 years, averaging 10 points. I probably won't average much less than 10 points still, but it's not about shots for me. It's about if the shot's there and I'm open and whatever, I'll take the shots. But it's about, being that force on the defensive end, being that leader out there on the floor, being a playmaker and facilitator. That's what I've always been about. That's what I enjoy most about the game. And if I hit a couple shots, take a couple shots, great.
Now, we know that it's going to be a challenge for you guys to play with DeMarcus Cousins on the floor. What about off the floor? Because right now it seems like you have a fine balance between the personalities of everyone. Aren't you worried a bit that Cousins can affect the chemistry in the locker room?
No, because I know DeMarcus. He's a great guy. I think so many times people see someone on the basketball floor and they want to judge that person. You can't judge someone off what you see when they're doing, and it's like judging a soldier from what he do on the battlefield. He's protecting his country. He should be a different guy on the battlefield than the guy you see walking down the street tomorrow. And it's the same thing with basketball. When we're on the court, you're a different person than you are when you're just walking down the street, when you're just sitting in the locker room. I love DeMarcus, great guy, just an overall great person. And I think he gets this rap of, oh, he's a bad guy, he kills your chemistry, and he's a bad locker room guy. That's garbage. He's a great guy and a great locker room guy. Like I said, I've won a gold medal with him. What you see on the court is the court. He's a competitor, and I think sometimes they get misconstrued.
First of all, I love the fact that you gave us a metaphor that everyone here in Israel can relate to, a soldier in the army, because we had some issues regarding that stuff. And you hear what's going on around the league after Cousins signed with you guys. I'm talking about Enes Kanter tweeting a photo of Adam Silver in a Golden State uniform, about people, burning the NBA logo this time, and fans threatening that they're not going to watch the NBA because it's not competitive enough. Do you care at all?
No, I don't care at all. Enes Kanter does a lot of stuff like that. It is what it is. Should try helping a team. If you can help a team win, why are you so worried about another guy signing? A guy at your position at that. You should embrace that challenge and say, oh, when we play them, that's my matchup, and I can dominate that matchup. So there must be a lack of confidence in oneself to be doing things like that. And as far as, fans saying, oh, it's over, we're not going to watch the NBA, they said that before. And we broke every record we could possibly break in the last 2 years, not just us as Warriors, the league as a whole. So.
You even broke it before Durant joined the team. You didn't win the championship, but that was because of your rejection. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Is the season over? Should you pass to the next summer?
No, you still got to play the game.
No complacency.
Any team can be beat. Anything can happen. You still got to play the game. You still got to embrace the process of an 82-game schedule, trying to get better and gear up for the playoffs. And I know that, so people saying, oh, the season's over. That's not going to stop teams from competing and giving us their best shot each and every night. And we have to prepare for that.
Do you want to keep the band together, of course? In 2020, your season is up. Your contract is up. Would you sacrifice the money to keep it together?
I think, with where we are right now, I don't really talk money. I have an agent for that. I don't get into 2020. I got 2 years before that, and I plan on winning 2 championships with those 2 years. Get to 2020, we'll see where we're at. We'll see where the Warriors are. We'll see where I am personally. So many things can change over the course of 2 years. For me to sit here right now and wonder what's going to happen with me in 2020 is the wrong approach. I have to continue to approach each year for that year and then move on to the next one when it's time. I don't think about 2020 and what's going to, something that could be important. I can sit here right now and say, I'll take the biggest discount to keep this team together. right now I can say that. It's 2018. We're talking 2 years from now. So much can change. And in 2020, I can have a completely different outlook and say, I need all the money I can get. Like, something happened in my life and I need, like, you just never know how much can change. So I don't focus on that. I try to focus on being the best player that I can possibly be. And when that time arrives, it arrives.
Is it important for you to be a Warrior throughout your entire career, or maybe join the Lakers and join forces with Luke Walton in 2 or 3 or 4 years? Who knows?
I mean, you never know where your career is going. Obviously, I've been with the Warriors the first 6 years of my career. The Bay Area has embraced me like their own. The organization has been fantastic. As a player, still with the same franchise, you can only hope to be with that franchise for your entire career. The reality of that is very slim. We can probably sit here and name off all the guys in a couple minutes that's been with one team their entire career. It's always a hope and a dream, but the reality of it is just super slim. And so, right now, yeah, I would love to, but you just never know how that plays out. To make that a goal is usually an unrealistic goal that you can make.
Especially in these days.
Absolutely.
You see so many players moving teams and not staying loyal and trying to figure out what
Tony
they
Parker
want to do.
left after 17
Yeah, were you surprised? You're in Tony Parker leaving the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference? For sure.
I was a bit surprised to see Tony leave, but if you watched him over the last couple of years, he looked unhappy. And I know that's where his heart will always be. He went there, 18-year-old boy. Now, 35 years old, a man. And so I know that's where his heart would always be, but I think he wanted to do more. And I think he'll get more of an opportunity to do more as the backup in Charlotte than in San Antonio.
Maybe Draymond can shed some light about what's going on with Kawhi Leonard, because it seems like no one knows what happened between him and the Spurs organization. Are you friends? Are you talking?
Yeah, Kawhi don't talk to many people. He just don't say much, so I have no idea. Number 1, Anthony Davis. Number 2, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Number 3, Brad Beal. 31 was Jeff Taylor. 31 Jeff Taylor. 32 Thomas Satoransky.
Raymond, you're known as somebody who plays with a chip on your shoulder. You famously can quote all the 34 players picked before you in the draft. But how do you maintain the chip on your shoulder when you're going to be a future Hall of Famer? You won 3 championships, 3-time All-Star.
3 All-Stars is great, but there's guys with 15-plus All-Star appearances. So how do I get there? 3 championships is great, but there's guys with many more championships. So how do I reach that? Being a future Hall of Famer is amazing. You're a future Hall of Famer until you're not anymore. And so how do you stay at that level of play to make sure that one day you are a Hall of Famer? There's been so many guys in year 6 of their career where people are saying, it's a future Hall of Famer, and then stuff hits the fan, nosedive, and all of a sudden they never make it. And so all those things are great, but as a future Hall of Famer, as people are saying, I have so much more work to do to make that come to fruition, and that pushes me every single day.
And we can see that you also push your opponents in terms of trash talk. You love to trash talk, right?
Yeah, I think it's an important piece to the game. The mental aspect of the game is sometimes even more than the physical. And so how do you alter someone's mental and take advantage of that situation? Growing up in Saginaw, Michigan, you couldn't play on the basketball court and not talk junk. It's not even fun to me when you can't talk junk, so I enjoy it. Chasing that farewell tour, they don't love you like that. You can't get no farewell tour, they don't love you like that. You ain't got that type of love. You thought you was Kobe? You ain't Kobe.
You killed one of Gavri's idols, right?
Yes. You trash talked him to death.
I got much respect for Pierce, much love for him. With the career that he had was incredible. He was in Boston for a very long time, and he was one of the most stellar players of his time. My trash talk with Paul Pierce, it was honestly just something that came to my head, and it was like, boom, he was talking junk from the sideline. But nonetheless, I don't take trash talk serious. When people say stuff to me, it is what it is. It's just trash talk. I'm trying to get an advantage on you. And so there's
Is there
much
somebody
respect for sure.
who can beat you in trash talk?
Get under your skin?
I don't think so. I mean, at some point, anyone can get under your skin. It just doesn't have to be trash talk. It can be sneaky little stuff someone does on the court. But, you know, when it comes to straight trash talking.
You're known as an emotional leader of the team. You can take Kevin Durant aside and tell him, look, you're not doing this good. Is there anybody that can stand up to you in the team?
Anybody. You know, I think as a leader, you have to be as willing to, or more, to listen than you do to speak. How can you lead someone without hearing what they think? How can you lead someone without valuing their opinion? You know, and so anyone can say anything to me. I say if there's someone who does the most, it probably is Kevin. You know, Andre, David West, Steph. You know, guys, Sean Livingston, like guys always talk to me. I think I do things in a more demonstrative way, so that's what everyone sees. But everyone has different personalities. I've never been the guy who I think I can say anything I want to another guy on the team and no one can say nothing to me. That's a horrible leader. That's not a leader.
By the way, if we're tracking back to Cousins joining the Warriors, you had 15 technical fouls last season. KD had 14. Cousins had 10, but he played 20 games less than each one of you. The league's going to profit from you guys joining forces, or maybe the other way around?
Well, I mean, one thing I never really worry about is technical fouls.
Even the second technical? Because in the Western Conference Finals, you had the first technical foul in the beginning of the game, and then like 3 minutes later, you got called for another foul, and you sprinted to the other end of the court, and it seemed like, you know, the refs are about to call you a second technical and maybe you get an ejection.
Yeah, I don't worry about that. You got to play the game, you know. My emotion is something that is important to the way that I play, and I never want to lose that. I always try to make sure I maintain that. I don't let one technical foul alter the way I play. And as far as us as Techs go, we're mature men. We'll figure it out.
Let's ask about Omri Caspi. How did you take the fact that the Warriors cut him just before the playoffs?
Well, it sucked. You know, Omri is a guy that I love. You know, I really enjoy Omri as a teammate. He's a great guy, works hard. It was just unfortunate. You know, that's kind of the business side of it, where the way numbers play out. Omri was hurt, Steph was hurt, and we needed a guard. Quinn was playing amazing, and that's just the way it played out. And so it sucked to see, you know, that Omri obviously went 9 or 10 years without playing the playoffs, and then all of a sudden here's this opportunity, and that happens. However, we all understood what he added to our team while he was there, and he will still get a ring. And everything that we get as players for going through the playoffs and going to the NBA Finals, he'll get as well.
Let's get back to the Warriors. And looking back at 2015, you won the championship. KD wasn't playing for the Warriors that season. 2018, last year, you won it with Steph being hurt and not playing 100%. In 2016, though, you didn't have Durant, and you got another technical that made an ejection of the fifth game.
Flagrant.
Flagrant, and you didn't play in the fifth game while you were up 3-1. So, if we're looking at all these details, who is the most important player for the franchise right now in your eyes?
I think we're all important in our own aspect. You know, the thing that makes us so successful is Steph does his job, Kevin does his job. I don't come crossing over into their lane and trying to do what they do. Clay does his job. Steph doesn't come trying to do what Clay does. Kevin doesn't try to do what Clay does. And the beat goes on. Sean Livingston doesn't come off the bench jacking threes. He does his job. Andre doesn't come off the bench dribbling between his legs and slicing through a defense like Steph does. He does his job. And like I said, the beat goes on. And so there's no one guy who's more important than the next. We all fill roles, and some roles are larger than others. But there's not one person on that team, one person in an organization more important than the next guy.
And the 2017 Kia NBA Defensive Player of the Year goes to Draymond Green.
You look at yourself, at your career, historically? Do you compare yourself to other players, what they have achieved, what you want to achieve?
I mean, as you know, as a competitor, you're always looking, seeing the things that you accomplish and appreciative of them. I don't just sit back and say, oh man, well this guy had this, and at this point I have that. Like, it's not about that. It's about continuing to build on that resume and trying to make it as stellar as I possibly can.
The amount of talent right now is off the charts. Who's your favorite players from the last class of draft and from the 2017 draft?
Last draft, I'm unbiased. A couple of my favorite players are Jaren Jackson and Miles Bridges. It'll always be that way. I think if Michael Porter can get healthy, extremely talented kid. I think if he was healthy, he's probably the #1 pick. And so, hopefully he can get healthy. You never want to see guys hampered by injury and can't live up to their potential. And so, him falling to the 14th spot in the draft, if that works out, Denver got a steal.
Yeah, big steal. And if you had to pick the Rookie of the Year between Simmons and Mitchell, what would your pick be?
If I had to pick, I would have went co-Rookie of the Year. I think they both did great things in their own right. I think, obviously the voting process and the way things are done, it just really doesn't allow for that. But if I'm the commissioner, I step in and say no. Move those votes aside this time. We have co-Rookie of the Year.
I'm going with Jason Tatum, but
I'm
biased.
Jason Tatum was great, but he wasn't great like those guys throughout the year. If you take the playoffs into account, you probably would go Jason Tatum, but just over the course of 82 games, he wasn't as great as those guys.
You watched the World Cup in Israel, a country who loves soccer. What about your friend Neymar going out?
Oh man, it sucks to watch him go out. I think, it's one of those things as an athlete that you build from, you learn from, and you give it a shot the next time. Obviously, Neymar wasn't at full strength, coming back from a major surgery just 4 or 5 weeks ago, and so I understand when you're off like that, and I've never had surgery, knock on wood, but I understand how it is to miss time, and I can only imagine coming off a major surgery. The fact that he was out there giving this country all that he had, he should be celebrated for that.
But you know about his image as somebody who flops a lot?
Yeah, I watch soccer. A lot of them flop a lot. It's not just him. You watch all those guys. Every time they fall, I watched a guy the other day get hit in the back and grabbed his eyes. Like, that's all of them. That's just a part of their game. That's what they do, and it is what it is.
Who are you rooting for from teams left?
I know quite a few of the guys. I just want to see good matches. Over the last couple of years, I've really gotten into soccer and started to watch more and more. I just want to see great matches.
Do you feel the level of interest in soccer in the States is rising?
It is. It's really growing. You got the ICC bringing all the big-time teams every year, every summer over to America, and now they're doing some things and building up the grassroots side of it as well in America. And it's really becoming a prominent sport in America. I think if you look over the course of the next 10 years, not sure if it'll surpass basketball. Basketball has always been America's thing, but soccer could possibly be one of the top 2 sports over the next 10 years in America.
Raymond, thank you very much for having us, for your precious time. I hope you didn't have too many selfies.
Here in Israel, yeah. And good luck in the years to come and next season. Obviously, just don't beat Omri.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Omri's in the Western Conference. That's my guy, but we gotta beat him.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.